Rovers to telescopes, discoveries in space, are constantly happening right before our eyes. But now, with NASA's Artemis I mission, we are starting to explore space deeper than ever before. And as NASA is planning missions to Mars, one big question comes to everyone's mind. Can humans really live on Mars? Have you ever wondered why we still can't live on Mars? The answer is a little surprising. Look, maybe this will be possible in the future, because many scientists consider Mars and Earth to be like twins, since they have some similarities. But even then, these two planets are not exactly the same. If humans want to live on Mars, they will have to face many problems. Before making Mars our home, we will have to solve many things, like the differences between Earth and Mars, how long a day on Mars is, and what things will be necessary to survive there. But before understanding that, you need to know the differences between Earth and Mars. Earth and Mars both orbit the Sun, and both are tilted on their axes in almost the same way. But even then, there are some important differences between the two planets. First, the air. The air we breathe on Earth is absolutely perfect for humans. It contains about 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen, along with a small amount of other gases. This mixture is what keeps us alive. But the atmosphere on Mars is completely different. About 95% of it is carbon dioxide, which is poisonous to humans. The air on Mars is also about 100 times thinner than Earth's. If a person were standing on Mars without a spacesuit, they wouldn't be able to breathe, and the air pressure is so low that a person's blood would begin to boil. Next comes ice. On Earth, when water freezes, it becomes ice, just like what you see in your freezer or on frozen lakes. Mars also has ice, but it's a little different. The ice caps at Mars's north and south poles contain both water ice and dry ice, which is actually frozen carbon dioxide. During the Martian winter, even more dry ice forms, making the polar ice caps larger. When summer arrives, some of this dry ice changes directly from a solid into a gas, instead of melting into a liquid first. Scientists believe that the water ice on Mars could be very useful for humans living there in the future. Now, let's talk about the ground. If you look at Earth from space, most of it appears blue, because about 70% of our planet is covered by water, while the rest is land with soil, mountains, deserts, and forests where plants grow. Mars looks completely different. Its entire surface is dry land, covered with reddish-orange rocks and fine dust. This red color comes from iron in the rocks that has rusted just like a rusty nail. Mars is also home to the largest volcano in our solar system, Olympus Mons, and it has a huge canyon system called Valles Marineris. It is so large that, if it were on Earth, it would stretch across the entire United States. Now, let's talk about the moons. Earth has only one moon that we see in the night sky. It's relatively large compared to Earth, about 1/4 of Earth's size. Mars has 2 moons, but they are very small and oddly shaped. They look more like potatoes than round balls. Their names are Phobos and Deimos. Phobos is the larger of the two, but it is only about 14 miles wide. Deimos is even smaller, about 8 miles wide. These moons are so small that scientists believe they may have once been asteroids that were captured by Mars's gravity. Phobos orbits Mars so closely that it circles the planet 3 times in a single Martian day, and in the future, it may eventually crash into Mars or break apart. Now, let's talk about the weather, which is even more dangerous. Earth has places where temperatures change significantly between seasons, but on Mars, these changes are much more extreme. The average temperature on Mars is about -80 degrees Fahrenheit. During the winter, temperatures at the poles can drop to around -195 degrees Fahrenheit, while near the equator during the summer, they can reach about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Mars takes much longer than Earth to orbit the Sun, but a day on Mars is almost the same length as a day on Earth, and that is very good news for scientists. So, Exactly how long is a day on Mars? Since Mars is farther away from the Sun, it takes 687 Earth days to complete one orbit, compared to Earth's 365 days. But the interesting part is that a single day on Mars is very close to a day on Earth. Mars takes 24 hours and 37 minutes to complete one full rotation on its axis, only about 40 minutes longer than an Earth day. Mars also has seasons, just like Earth, but the temperature changes are much more extreme because the atmosphere is thinner and Mars is farther from the Sunday. Now, let's understand what problems you would face if you could live on Mars. Humans need 4 main things to survive: water, shelter, food, and oxygen. So, if humans want to live on Mars, we first have to find solutions for all of these, because they are the biggest challenges. Take water, for example. Scientists have found evidence of water on Mars, but it's not like the water on Earth. Some of it is found on the surface, and some beneath the surface. But because of the extreme cold, it is frozen into ice, and the ice on Mars is not pure water. It is mixed with carbon dioxide ice. Some water is also trapped inside rocks. The lack of liquid water could make life very difficult for future settlers. That's why scientists continue studying Mars to find better water sources. Building homes or habitats on Mars will also be very difficult. If construction materials are shipped from Earth to Mars, the cost would be extremely high. That's why scientists are thinking about using materials already available on Mars to build buildings and shelters. These homes would have to protect people from radiation, extreme temperature changes, the lack of oxygen, and the other harsh conditions on Mars. New environments require new kinds of buildings. People might live inside ice structures, igloo-like shelters, or underground homes. Several designers have also created above-ground habitat designs that may work on Mars in the future. Growing food on Mars won't be like normal farming on Earth. Crops would need to be grown without soil using methods like hydroponics. Plants would grow in water filled with nutrients and under special lights. Some scientists have even suggested making the Martian atmosphere thicker by adding gases so that plants could grow more easily. But this would be an enormous and extremely difficult project. That's why it's much more likely that future Martian settlers will rely on hydroponic farming. But humans also need oxygen to breathe. Earth's atmosphere contains plenty of oxygen, which makes life possible. One of the biggest challenges of living on Mars is the lack of oxygen. Mars's atmosphere is much thinner than Earth's. Earth's air contains about 21% oxygen, which is perfect for human life. On Mars, however, oxygen makes up only about 0.16% of the atmosphere. Most of the air is carbon dioxide, which is harmful to humans. NASA has tested a machine called MOXIE that converts carbon dioxide into oxygen, and this device has successfully produced oxygen from the Martian atmosphere. This has opened the door for larger future experiments and possible ways of creating breathable air on Mars. But beyond basic survival needs, people living on Mars would face many more problems. At night, temperatures become extremely cold, sometimes dropping below -100 degrees Fahrenheit. Mars also has dust storms, high radiation levels, and much lower gravity than Earth. That's why, before making the Red Planet our home, we have to find solutions to all of these problems. This tells us that living on Mars is impossible right now, but maybe not in the future. And if that day comes, we may one day live on Mars just as we live on Earth, and you'll get to witness it with your own eyes. But if you also want to know what would happen to our universe if Earth suddenly disappeared from it, then you should watch my next video. I'll see you there.